Today, we're diving into a really powerful story about a community's journey. It's about addiction, sure, but it's also about recovery and the incredible, messy, and beautiful resilience it takes to heal, not just as one person, but as a whole community together. Everything we're talking about today comes from this amazing book, Addiction, Recovery, and Resilience by Townsand Price-Spratlen. It's a really deep and personal look inside a faith-based organization and all the lives it touched. So let's get into it. You know, the whole story really starts with this one question. How did my life get so out of control? That's a quote from the book's prologue, and it's a question someone asks when they've hit rock bottom. It's that moment of just total demoralization, but it's also the moment a new path can begin. And that question, it's right at the heart of everything. And for so many people, that question led them to a place called the FACS Ministries. FACS stands for Faith, Actions of Sobriety. It was started in a tough urban neighborhood by people who were in a long-term recovery themselves. They'd been there, and they wanted to help other people find a way out. Now, to really get what made this place tick, we need to understand this one core idea. It's called the social ecology of resilience. It sounds kind of academic, right? But it's actually pretty simple. Think of it like a safety net or a web. Recovery isn't just about one person's willpower. It's about the entire network, the supportive people, the safe places, and the helpful resources that all work together to help a community get back on its feet. So let's start at the beginning of this story with part one, hope. We're going to break down that social ecology, that web, and look at the three key ingredients that made the FACS Ministries such a beacon for so many people. First up, the people. And let me tell you, this was not just one type of person. It was a true melting pot. You had folks from the church, residents from the sober living homes, people showing up for Cocaine Anonymous meetings, volunteers. I mean, it was this incredible mix of African American, white, Latino, Native American folks, young and old, some with jobs, some without. Everybody was there, striving together. Next, let's talk about the place itself. The Ministries was right in the middle of a neighborhood the book calls North Lawson, a place dealing with some serious, concentrated poverty. And in an environment like that, the Ministries became so much more than just a building. It was a true safe haven, a sanctuary where people could just breathe and focus on getting well, away from all the triggers and pressures of the street. And finally, we have the things, the actual tangible services they provided. And you can see just how much they cared about the whole person. It wasn't just about sobriety. Of course, they had sober homes and CA meetings, but they also had Sunday services for spiritual life, community lunches so people wouldn't go hungry, and they even connected folks with doctors and dentists. They even had a youth boxing team. It was about healing everything, not just one part. But you know, no real story is that simple. It wasn't all just hope and success. This is where things get really honest. Part two of this journey is about hurt. Because even in places with the best intentions, cracks can start to show, and conflict can bubble up. And a huge source of that hurt actually came from the relationship between the Ministries itself and the Cocaine Anonymous groups that met there. I mean, on the surface, they wanted the exact same thing, to help people recover. But behind closed doors, things were different. They had different ways of doing things, clashes in leadership, and just no clear system for how to work together. And those little fractures started to grow into bigger cracks. So, what happens when nobody talks about those tensions? You get this. The book calls it toxic silences. All these issues were just simmering under the surface, never really being talked about openly. And that silence, it became its own kind of problem, weakening the very community they were all trying to build. Which brings us to the final and maybe the most powerful part of this story. Hallelujah. And this isn't about some perfect happy ending. It's about understanding how real healing actually works, especially after things have fallen apart. The lessons they learned here are so important. So from all those ups and downs, the book pulls out this really clear three-step model. First, you have to value people. That means not just giving them help, but giving them ways to help others, to give back. Second, you have to nurture the place, making sure it stays safe and supportive. And third, you have to build assets, offer a good mix of services, and crucially, work with other groups to make the whole community stronger. And look, this isn't just some nice theory. This is a real, practical roadmap. It shows how any group, especially one dealing with challenges as big as addiction and poverty, can actually start to mend itself. And in doing that, help heal the entire community it's there to serve. All right, so we've been through this whole journey of hope and hurt and finally healing. What's the big takeaway?
What does the story of the Facts Ministries really teach us about what it means to be resilient?
It really all comes down to this. Real, lasting resilience is not a solo mission. It's not about how strong one person is. It's that social ecology we talked about, that web of people, places, and things. It's something a whole community has to build, on purpose, and take care of together. And that kind of leaves us with a huge question to think about, doesn't it? After seeing everything the Facts Ministries went through, the good and the bad, what does it really take to heal not just one person, but an entire community? If this story about resilience meant something to you, we'd really appreciate it if you'd like this video and subscribe to our Recovery Anonymous channel. We have a lot more stories about community and healing to share. Thanks so much for watching.